Hi everyone, good morning. Today is 18th of January and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper, all the articles along with the background and way forward we are going to take. And I would like to tell you that you can download explainer notes of the session from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram has been given in description box in YouTube, or you can directly visit Telegram and can search there by typing Thinking Valid by Sahil. Now, let's start with, first of all, let's see overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are important in today's newspaper. Pakistan PM moots serious, sincere talks with Modi. So guys, here we can see this particular thing that Shehbaz Sharif, the Pakistan Prime Minister, has explored that peaceful relations should be maintained with India. Okay, now on the side article, UNSC Sanctions Committee backlist Lashkar's Makki after Beijing lifts its hold. So guys, understand this particular thing that what has happened in 2022, India and USA have jointly proposed the name of certain terrorist and terrorist outfits that they should be designated as a terrorist of international concern. But China had blocked that particular attempt on the basis of certain technical holds. But now China had removed that technical hold. Okay. Now understand this particular thing, guys. Basically, this entire issue stays an irritant between India and China. However, you don't need to go and see that, okay, which terrorist was blocked, which terrorist has now been approved. Such questions don't come neither for prelims nor in the mains examination. But yes, when we talk about terrorism, terrorism always happens to be a very important concern for India. Recently, India was the non-permanent member in the UNSC, United Nations Security Council. India was elected as a non-permanent member, and in the month of December, India was the president in UNSC, and India had carried many initiatives in UNSC. For example, no money for terror conference, no money for terror conference, counter terrorism committee has been led by India. So India is very serious on countering terrorism, but China, Pakistan always have looked some opportunities in that particular thing. Now the China has blocked removed that particular thing. Backing Sri Lanka, India sends financing assurance to IMF. So guys, we know this particular thing that now Sri Lanka is going with a kind of a debt crisis, economic crisis are going on in Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka is trying to negotiate with IMF so that IMF provides the fiscal assistance to Sri Lanka. Now, in this particular capacity, China, Japan, and India are going to play a very important role because they are one of the biggest creditors to Sri Lanka. So, India has given assurance to IMF that IMF can provide help to Sri Lanka. This is a good cordial relation, cordial gesture that has been extended by India towards Sri Lanka. Then further moving on, after that guys, coming to the city section. In city section, the regional political issues, fine. Kejriwal takes on LG again. So basically the cat fight between the LG and CM's office and all such kind of things are going on. Now, moving on guys in this particular direction. So coming to the states page, again, the regional political issues have been there which are more or less discussed. Okay. So much important articles are not there here in this particular section. The regional issues, political issues have been given. Now moving on guys, Himachal women create livelihood with pine and needles. So here we see this particular thing that handicrafts are being made out of the pine needles. Okay. Then coming to editorial section. Now the first article, illogical rejection of the idea of South Asia. We'll see this particular article. Then guys, side article is talking about the recent issue where China has withdrawn the technical hold on the name of certain terrorist. Then further moving on, new free food grain scheme as an illusion, double speak. Now this particular article guys, fine, is talking about the recent changes that have been brought into the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which has been merged with National Food Security Act. We'll see this particular article. A fortuitous trend, the cooling of inflation. Okay, so guys, here it is comparing the month by month inflation. So we have seen that in 2022, inflation stayed beyond the Monetary Policy Committee's range of 2 to 6%. But now inflation is coming down, particularly because of vegetable prices have come down. Now, the point is that guys, here there are too much of data. Every month's data of inflation has been given. You are not required to go too much and read line by line data. Then moving on, coming to opinion page, a case for reassigning GST to states. We'll see this particular article. Okay, then duopoly concerns loom large in the telecom sector. So guys, here we see this particular thing that Vodafone, Idea, Airtel, Jio. Okay, these are the major players today in telecom sector. And but here we see this particular thing that Vodafone Idea is already facing a lot of financial challenges. So Airtel, Jio are the other two big players that we have. So here basically the market share, their revenues, the net subscribers they gain, they lost. Okay, all these things have been given. Then coming to text and context page. So in text and context page, the first article, India's new proposal for migrant voting. So recently, the opposition parties have rejected the proof of concept for remote EVM. So this particular article has come. Okay, we'll take the article. Then further moving on and going on to the next page, text and context. This is a bibliography article. So here these three books, Netaji, Brothers Against Raj, Bose. Fine, so their plots are being discussed. Then further, moving on, Finnish collection of states' view on identifying minorities, Supreme Court to center. We'll see this particular article as what is this article with this background. Then NCB widens probe into Punjab drugs syndicate. Much important things are not there in this particular article. Just this is the law and order issue. News marked false by PIB to be taken down draft rule. We'll see this particular article as what the article is talking about. Then further guys, moving on, 400 tribal youth from 3 left-wing extremist areas affected district, for 400 tribals youth from 3 LW affected districts in Chhattisgarh to join CRPF. So we'll see this particular article, and this is guys a very good intervention, because when we talk about the LWE, okay, or any kind of a situation where non-state actors are leading to such kind of a problems, cutting them from their base. Cutting their base means that basically the people who are joining these organizations, fine, ensuring that they don't do that thing is a very sustainable kind of a thing which has been done here. Then further moving on, ahead of polls, BJP meet touches on parties various. Now these are the political articles, no need to go in line in this particular thing. Then Supreme Court bench questions the utility of advanced medical directive. We'll see this particular article as what the article is talking about. Then further guys, moving on, India plans buffers in proposed Arunchal project to offset China threat. So we'll see that how China is constructing the infrastructure projects in lower reaches of Brahmaputra and how that thing can ignite water wars in India. Then further moving on guys, coming to the world's page, and on world's page, in a landmark shift, China's population declines in 2022. So we'll see the population dynamics in China, fine, and we'll see that what have been the outcomes of such population policy. Then coming on, China's GDP rose by 3% as COVID lockdown. Then other corporate trends, etc. has been given. Real money gaming firms seek graded KYC except draft rules. Okay, so guys, understand this particular thing that recently the government has proposed that online games where money is being staked, they will be brought under IT rules mandate, so that on them certain regulations, KYC norms can be imposed. Fine. So basically here the basically platforms or the applications which are offering such kind of a games, they have basically they are seeking that graded KYC, know your customer norms can be imposed on them. Then we have next sports page. Then the next we have is sports page. So this is guys all about the newspaper overview for today. And now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in detail. Okay, let's discuss one by one articles in detail. Okay, so in every class guys, we take the GS quotation. Okay, and today we are going to take quotation from Lord John Boyd. So Lord John Boyd says, peace can't be built upon empty stomach. Peace can't be built upon empty stomach. So first of all, now guys, we see this particular thing that hunger, poverty, deprivation, what it does, it fuels frustration. And when the people are frustrated, it is particularly more easy to radicalize them. Okay, they can be radicalized, and the radicalized people can lead to disturbance in certain law and order. Okay, they can lead to fundamentalism. So point is that until and unless the basic needs of people will be taken care of, we can't build everlasting peace in the society. So how to build peace? You need to ensure that their basic needs are fulfilled. This particular thing can also be seen guys with the one particular more fact that what happened in 2022, World Food Program okay, was given the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, so we see this thing that how ensuring that people are being fed, they are being given food, has helped in reducing the disputes, etc., around the world. This particular testimony can be seen from this particular fact as well. So that is all about the GS quotation. And now let's take the first article. Let's take first article. Okay, so guys, now, fine. First article. India plans buffers in proposed Arunchal project to offset China threat. Okay. Now, we are going to discuss this particular article as it is very important with respect to the India's national security. Okay. So, this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, issues related to internal security or issues related to national security, and in GS paper number 2, India China issues, international relations, issues with the neighborhood. We'll see this particular article. Now let's take this particular article. Okay, so basically guys, now first of all guys, I just wanted to give you some of a basic background information. So it has been provided multiple number of times by many of the think tanks around the world that if there will be ever a third world war will happen, if third world war will happen, it will be because of water. It will be because of water. Because today we see this particular thing that water has become the most precious and at the same time most scarce commodity in present wake of climate change, present wake of new environmental challenges that are coming. Now see this particular thing, China, what has done? China over and over again has weaponized the water. China has weaponized the water. Now, how China is going for the weaponization of water, particularly in the context of India? It's this: China has constructed large number of dams over the lower reaches of Brahmaputra. Now, you'll understand this particular thing more when I will show you this particular picture. So, guys, here you see this particular thing that fine. When we talk about the Brahmaputra River, okay, so Brahmaputra River, okay, it enters in India. Brahmaputra River enters in India. Now the point is this, that the lower reaches of Brahmaputra, this particular part of the Brahmaputra, China is constructed very big dams here. Now in these dams a lot of water will be stored by the China, a lot of water will be stored by China, and that will have a lot of implications on Indian concern. That will have a lot of implications on Indian concern. Now, as we talk about the dams that are being constructed here in this particular part, to now first of all guys, we are going to discuss about one project that China has started few years back. So basically guys, what happened a couple of years back, China approved their 14th 5-year plan, and as the part of this 14th 5-year plan, they have provided this, that in the lower reaches of Brahmaputra River, fine, lower reaches of Brahmaputra River, what they'll do, they will be constructing a dam in Medong County. Now what is Medong County? Medong is a region within Tibetan region of China. So Medong County, okay, or this particular unit, it borders with Arunchal Pradesh. So just beyond the Arunchal Pradesh border in Medong, which is in Tibet, they are going to construct this particular dam. Now here Yarlung Zangbo Grand Canyon is located. Yarlung Zangbo Grand Canyon is located, and here they are going to make a project which will generate 60 gigawatts of power. 60 gigawatts of power. Now this hydropower project that they are going to construct in Medong, it is going to be the world's largest hydropower project. It will be, guys, this particular project, it will be this particular thing, it will be 3 times high. It will be 3 times bigger. Just a minute. This particular, just a minute, yes, this dam that they are going to construct, it will be yes. So fine. So I have told you that China, what it is going to do, it's going to construct a dam at Medong County. This will be the biggest hydropower project, hydropower dam anywhere in the world, and it will generate 60 gigawatts of power, which is 3 times more than the China's 3 gorges dam which is right now having the largest hydropower capacity in world. Now China is justifying this particular project by saying this particular thing, that by this particular project what will happen, China will be able to become carbon neutral by 2060. Carbon neutral by 2060. India has also taken the target of carbon neutrality by 2070. So China wants to become carbon neutral. Moreover, China justified this particular project by saying this thing, that the Tibet autonomous region, Tibetan region, it is underdeveloped, socio-economic indicators are poor there. This particular project will provide them sustainable energy, will generate livelihood there, will bring development there. So China, on the basis of their own national interest, is justifying this particular dam. It is justifying this particular dam. So guys, we can see this particular thing, that this particular dam has also been called as super dam. This dam has also been called as super dam. Where this particular dam is located? This particular dam is located at this particular point. Okay, and here we see the boundary of India is going on, and here is Arunachal Pradesh. Now point is that the construction of the dam at this particular point will have a lot of implications for India's interest. Now what implications will be there for India? We'll see these particular implications one by one. Okay, so what implications will be there? We'll see them one by one. Okay, so first of all, the biggest implication will be there is that, number one, as this particular dam will be constructed, it will hold back a lot of silt. So silt is a fine soil which is carried by the river, and this silt is one of the most fertile soil in entire world. And as the Brahmaputra River brings this particular silt, this silt is deposited on the flood plains around Brahmaputra River, particularly in Arunchal Pradesh, and it is very beneficial for agriculture. But now this silt will be deposited in this dam, and that fine soil will not be now be coming then in India. The next issue that comes here is that basically constructing the dam upstream. So here upstream dam will be constructed. It will have a lot of impact on downstream regions. So downstream regions, we have Arunachal Pradesh, India, then there is Bangladesh also downstream. Now point is that water availability in lean seasons, water availability in dry seasons will be reduced. So Arunachal Pradesh region of India and Bangladesh will see water scarcity because of the water that will be stored by China. Now point is that though China has said this particular thing many number of times, that it will be run of the water, fine, run of the river type of project, ROR. Run of the river means that water will simply flow, they'll not store water. But the point is that as per the designs that have come out, this is being provided that they will still store some of water. Okay, now the next point is that basically if China sudden releases the water from this particular dam, now guys, it will carry huge water, a lot of water, fine, water of more than 1 year's need will be carried in this, will be stored in this particular reservoir. So if suddenly they releases that particular water, it can flood entire northeastern India. Okay, so therefore it might bring artificial floods here. The next point is that we find this thing, that Himalayan region is always vulnerable to earthquake, and other seismic activities, and here storing such of waters, building such a kind of a big project might destabilize the fragile geography of this particular region, Himalayan region. So therefore it is going to be a very big problem, it is going to be a very big challenge for India. Okay, now guys, basically in order to counter this China's project, what India is considering, India is also considering to build a 10 gigawatt, okay, 10 to 11 gigawatt of hydropower project, and this project we will be building somewhere here in Dibang Valley of Arunachal Pradesh. In Dibang Valley of Arunachal Pradesh, we are building this particular project. Okay, so this is the location where India is also going to construct the dam in order to counter the China's dam. Is it clear or not? So this is something that we are going to do. Now for constructing this particular dam, recently a pre-feasibility report has been submitted. Now this particular dam is going to be 5 times size of the largest project that we have in India, though it is still very small compared to the China, because China's dam has a capacity of 60 gigawatt. Our dam has a capacity of 10 to 11 gigawatt. Okay, 11,000 megawatt. 11,000 megawatt means 11 gigawatt. This is our capacity. Now this project has been submitted to Central Electricity Authority for appraisal, okay, and it has been submitted by National Hydropower Corporation. But the point is this, guys, that we are countering China's infrastructure by our own infrastructure. But the point is that we are ignoring the environmental aspects that are related here. So both India and China needs to cordially discuss this particular matter, and pristine geography of Himalayan region should not be made as a arena of conflicts, power struggle. That is something that is needed to be understood. But now, guys, this clearly can be seen, but India has to do it because of national security interest that is involved. But China outrightly constructing dam in this particular region shows that how China might be using this in strategic purposes for the later times. So water wars can be induced. Now, moving to the, guys, next article. Okay, so I hope that you have understood this particular article. Fine, guys, I hope that you have understood this particular article. And now moving to the next one. Supreme Court bench questions utility of Advanced Medical Directive. Supreme Court bench questions utility of Advanced Medical Directive. Okay, now this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice, as well as GS paper number 4, ethics. GS paper number 4, ethics. We'll see this particular article. Now, what is this particular article all about? Before that, guys, we'll go in some of background information first. Okay, we'll go in some background information first. Now, first of all, guys, you need to know two things. Fine, you need to know two things. Euthanasia and living will. Now, what do we understand by euthanasia, guys? See this thing, that certain stages people have reached to vegetative state. People have entered in a prolonged state of coma where there is no possibility, medical possibility I'm talking about. There is no medical possibility that they will recover back. There are certain terminal diseases. Terminal disease are those diseases from which recovery medically is not possible. Now, the point is that we talk about article number 21. Article number 21 of Indian Constitution talks about right to life. Now, in right to life, right to dignified life has also been contained. And within right to dignified life, it has also been provided that certain times when people are not able to live a dignified life because they are suffering in such kind of a diseases, it is possible that they should be given a kind of a dignified death. So the issue of death comes. Now, euthanasia is administering a person medical death. So when a person is not able to recover, when a person is in a lot of pain, giving that particular person an administered medical death, it is euthanasia. When we talk about euthanasia, there are two types of euthanasia. One is active euthanasia and second is passive euthanasia. Okay. Now, what is active euthanasia? Active euthanasia is giving a person some lethal substance, so that the person dies. That is active euthanasia. The second is a passive euthanasia. In passive euthanasia, no lethal substance will be given, but if, let's say, a person is dependent on some life care, if a person is dependent on ventilator or such other kind of an equipment, that equipment will be withdrawn. Okay, and because the person was dependent on that, eventually that person will die. So this is the difference between active and passive. Active, giving some lethal substance. Passive, you will not give something, but if a person is dependent on some external thing, that thing will be withdrawn. In context of India, understand this particular thing, active euthanasia is not allowed. Passive euthanasia is allowed, but under certain specific circumstances. In passive euthanasia, if a person has to resort to passive euthanasia, then the court will be deciding on that particular matter. Okay, so point is that active euthanasia not allowed, passive euthanasia allowed in certain conditions. Now, there is one more concept that comes, that is the concept of living will. Now, guys, the point is that, first of all, suppose a person is suffering from a kind of a terminal disease. A person is suffering from a particular type of cancer or any such kind of a disease such as ALS. Okay. And this particular person's condition will become bad with the passage of time. So the person can give advanced medical directive, and this advanced medical directive is called as a living will. Living will means that a person can direct to a doctor that after a particular stage my treatment is to be stopped. The person will not be in a condition after a time to tell, will not be able to communicate, will not be able to convey that, okay, I don't want to live this life, which is very painful. So there can be an advanced directive that can be given to doctor, or a living will that can be given to the doctor, so that the doctor stops the treatment and that person is given a kind of a death, euthanasia. Okay, now when we talk about, guys, the condition of euthanasia, the situation of euthanasia and living will. Okay, just a minute. Fine. In your notes, in two lines, I have also explained what is passive euthanasia, what is living will. You can see it in your notes. Now, just a minute. So, now what has happened? Basically, guys, in 2018, Supreme Court gave a judgment. And in the judgment of 2018, Supreme Court has upheld both passive euthanasia and advanced directive or living will, that it can be carried. Now what is happening, Supreme Court is again hearing this particular matter, that whether passive euthanasia is correct. It will not go against the article number 21, because article 21 talks about right to life. Within right to life, will right to die also be included or not? Now on that particular thing, guys, there are conflicting observations by Supreme Court that has come. So basically now again the Supreme Court is hearing this particular matter, that whether passive euthanasia is legally and constitutionally correct, and advanced directives. Now in this particular case that is going on, Supreme Court has provided this particular thing, that when such a directive should be implemented, we need to have an absolute clarity on this particular thing. Now it has also been provided that there are many cases where it was not possible that a person might be able to survive, but the people have lived a kind of a life. For example, you take example of world renowned physicist Stephen Hawking. You might be knowing this thing, you might have seen him in pictures, that he was in wheelchair, was not able to talk, was not able to use the hand gestures, but had done a lot of discoveries, particularly on the black hole. You might have seen his photographs where he used to communicate with a computer device. Okay, so he was suffering with ALS. Okay, he was suffering with ALS. Okay, now what is ALS? ALS is a disease in which ALS is a disease of nervous system, where the nervous system is not able to coordinate with the muscles. The person loses the control over his body, muscles, and eventually a person even loses the control on breath. So ALS has been called as a very critical terminal kind of a disease, and people usually don't survive if they suffer from ALS. But Stephen Hawking, he lived till 76 years of age. So point is that there is no disease which we can say that a person will never be able to recover from that particular disease. Supreme Court has asked the question that, see, we need to differentiate between illness as whether illness is critical or terminal. Critical illness is a very serious illness, okay, which is very serious, which will impact the quality of life, but still recovery is possible. Terminal recovery is not possible. Now guys, understand this thing. For poor people, every disease is terminal disease. Poor people, if a poor person is suffering from cancer, it is not possible for that poor person to afford that expensive medical treatment, but a rich person can afford the medical treatment. So a rich person might have the luxury of differentiating between critical and terminal, but for poor person, every disease is a terminal disease. Many number of times, because of poverty, people cannot carry forward their treatment. So what can happen in those cases, their living will can be used to terminate their lives, and this is something which is going to be highly unethical. This is something which is going to be highly immoral. It has been provided that a person's financial background many number of times could be a condition to decide whether a disease is critical or terminal. But should financial condition be a ground to define it? No. Now it has been provided that when the advanced directive has been given by a person that after a particular time his treatment should be dropped, it places a heavy burden on doctors. It puts a heavy burden on doctors. Is it clear or not? So it has been provided that Basically, we need to elaborate more that what is this consent all about. We need to elaborate more that what are the exit condition in which the treatment can be withdrawn. So more brainstorming, more discussion is needed in this particular matter. Clear? So guys, this is this entire article all about. So what has happened? Now you read the heading. Supreme Court bench questions utility of advanced medical directive. Now you know medical directive and now you know the issue. So now the Supreme Court has just raised the questions. Up till now, nothing final has come in this particular issue. Okay, so guys, please download this PDF because the background that we discussed here is not provided in this article as such. But if you don't know this background, obviously we can't make much of a sense of this particular article. So that's all guys about this particular issue, and I hope that you have understood it. And now we'll move to next article. Finnish collections of states' view on identifying minorities, Supreme Court to center. Okay, now let's take this particular article, guys. Now this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice, fine, minority welfare, social justice, minority welfare. Okay, now guys, if you are following newspaper analysis regularly, few days back also this particular article came. Okay, few days back also this particular article came. Now actually guys, this is see, issue has not culminated. This is a kind of an ongoing thing that is there. Now before going in this particular article, I would like to explain you some background, and after understanding background, then we'll go in this article. Now what's the background? Guys, you might have read about fundamental rights in your polity. Now when we talk about fundamental rights, guys, understand this thing, that article 29 and article 30 of the constitution are there. And article 29 and article 30 have specifically given the rights to the minorities community, that they can administer their educational institution, they can protect their culture, they can administer their educational institution. Okay, good. Now the point comes that okay, minorities have been, religious minorities, linguistic minorities have been given fundamental right. But who is a minority? Who will get the benefit under article 29 and article 30? Constitution doesn't define that this community is a minority, this community is not minority. So for that particular purpose, we have National Commission for Minorities, and there is the NCM Act of 1992, National Commission for Minorities and NCM Act of 1992. Under this particular act, there is a section 2C, and under section 2C, that it has been provided that who are actually minorities. And as per section 2C, of NCM Act, it has been provided that Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, Zoroastrians, fine, and along with that Jains. These are minority communities. So in 1993, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 communities were given minority status, and in 2014, Jains, the 6th community, have been given minority status. But what has happened since then, many other communities have also demanded that they should be given minority status. Why? Because if they are given minority status, they will get the right to administer their own educational institutions. Okay, so other communities have also demanded. For example, it has been provided that even Hindus are minority in the region of Ladakh. Fine. So point is that we need to have more standards to designate who is a minority. Guys, as of now, okay, as of today, who are minority? They are declared under NCM Act, and the minority people are declared on the national basis, on the national level. Okay. Now the points have been raised that actually we need to, first of all, we need to bring two changes. Number one, right now only center has exclusive power to notify a minority community. State governments don't have power to notify a minority community. So number one, this is a problem. Why only center has power? Second issue that comes here is that, guys, basically minorities should not be notified as at national level. Here these minorities are notified at national level. We need to notify them at state level, and for that particular thing, Supreme Court in a 12-judge bench in TMA Pai case, Okay, TMA pi case, here Supreme Court has provided that we need to determine linguistic and religious minorities at the state level, number one. Okay, we need to determine them at the state level. Okay, and the unburdened power that has been given to central, okay, to inform minorities, that is to be reduced, and the state government should also be given the power to notify minorities. Now guys, this particular viewpoint of TMA pi case, this particular viewpoint of TMA pi case has also been endorsed by National Commission for Minority Educational Institutions, which is a statutory body. Moreover, Ministry of Education has also supported TMA case that state should be given power to modify, to notify minority, and minorities should be notified at a state level. Okay, this has been there. Now what is happening is center government is asking the viewpoints from the state and union territory that, okay, what you believe in that particular capacity. Should we notify minority at a national level, or should minority be notified at state level? Can state government, should state governments be given power in that or not? So these discussions are going on between the center and the states. Up till now, 24 states and union territory have submitted their viewpoints. Some of them, they say that the state government should be given power, for example, Tamil Nadu. Some say that the status quo should be reserved. Status quo means what is going on right now, and right now center has power. So this particular suggestions and brainstorming is going on. Recently, we have seen this particular matter. So states have given mixed response, and Delhi has also given its suggestion, and they have said that actually, yes, this is a problem, that certain communities are needed to be given special protection. For example, Hindus. Now we know this thing that Hindus are not a minority, but Hindus were minority in Jammu and Kashmir. And in past, we have seen that because Hindus were minority in Jammu and Kashmir, many of the Hindus, particularly Kashmiri Pandits, they have been persecuted, and they have ran because of the fear of persecution that was there in Jammu and Kashmir. So Hindus were minority and got persecuted, they have suffered. So Delhi government had suggested that on such kind of Hindus who came from Jammu and Kashmir, they could be given the migrated minority status, so some additional safeguards can be given to them. So this is just a suggestion. Now guys, this particular matter is going on, and we'll see over the next few days or weeks or even months as how this particular matter will evolve. So what has happened? What has happened now? If you read this particular article, Finnish collection of states view, on identifying minorities, the Supreme Court to center. So I told you that up till now 24 states and union territories have given their viewpoints. So Supreme Court is saying that you take all the states and union territories view quickly and finally decide on this particular matter. Okay, so this is guys all about this particular issue. Now guys, though I say this thing a lot, fine, I repeat it a lot, but the point is that if we know this background, reading the article will just take 2 minutes. So my point is that with due diligence, please read newspapers very diligently for at least 3, 4, 5 months. Once you have done that particular thing, after that, reading newspaper will not take more than 10-15 minutes for you, because very few articles or very few things will be there which will be entirely new. Other things are repeating anyhow. Okay, so point is that please do this exercise of 3-4 months diligently, and then you don't need any newspaper analysis video, you don't need any explainer, you don't need anything. Okay, fine. Moving to next article. Okay, now India's new proposal for migrant voting. India's new proposal for migrant voting. So this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, electoral reforms. Electoral reforms or issues related to elections. Now, guys, one thing, in this particular article, a lot of critical viewpoints from the opposition members, certain NGOs, fine, and a very hairline kind of a detail that, okay, EVM contains the chip, that chip is sent to US for programming, that chip is one-time readable chip. Okay, now what I'm trying to say, basically here, what has been provided in this particular article, a lot of detail about the allegations that have been made on EVM by the opposition members, and how Election Commission of India has provided multiple number of times that EVM cannot be tampered, but they have not given a credible proof to justify this particular thing beyond doubt that EVM cannot be tampered. This kind of a viewpoint has been discussed a lot. Now, point is that, guys, that such kind of things have become very politicized, and because of that particular nature, you should not go too much in that particular detail, but academic content of this particular article is very important. Now, point is that when we talk about this migrant voting system, this article doesn't contain much of a substance, but here we have taken the substance beyond the scope of this particular article, academic substance. You need to understand this thing, that newspapers are not just written for UPSC aspirants only. Sometimes the articles are written because there are the leaders, or there are the readers who have just interest in knowing what the political matters are there. So if there are such kind of an articles, then we need to put an extra effort to deduct only the information that is important for us, and we need to go to other sources as well. Okay, so basically what we are going to do, will extract the important and relevant material from this article. Whatever is important, we'll extract all that particular material, and then we will take the material from other sources also to understand this particular issue. Okay, now basically, guys, first of all, whenever we talk about elections, free elections are the bedrock of a democracy. In a democracy, elections need to be free, fair, transparent. Okay, and for that particular thing, Election Commission of India has been created as a constitutional body. Under article number 324 of the Indian Constitution, Election Commission of India has been given authority for superintendence and conduct of elections in India. Now, when we talk about, guys, the Election Commission of India, from time to time it has taken certain reforms as how elections can actually be made as fair, transparent. Earlier, we had paper ballot voting system, in which people will put a stamp on a paper, and then that paper will be put in a ballot box, and then physical counting of the papers will be there. Now, that particular kind of a method of voting was prone to booth capturing, rigging, etc. For example, some muscleman comes and they just put stamps on 200, 500 votes, and just they put that on into the ballot paper. Entire exercise will become futile. Now, EVMs have come, electronic voting machine. EVMs are more sophisticated, they are more sensitive. For example, guys, once a vote has been casted in EVM, then that particular EVM has to be again to be given the mandate by the presiding officer. Okay, so point is that mass voting in the case of booth rigging, booth capturing, that was possible in paper ballot, it is very difficult in matters of EVM. Secondly, in EVM, counting is more hassle free, it is more environmental friendly. So EVM has been introduced in India. Okay, and as we talk about the EVM, electronic voting machines, it's started in 1992. It started in 1992, and since 2000, EVMs are being used in all the Lok Sabha and the state assembly elections. Okay, now, as, guys, EVMs have been brought, okay, basically many number of times, even on EVM, the challenge has been raised, and the challenge is like this. Suppose I casted my vote on EVM. Okay, what is a guarantee if I casted vote to ABC political party, it will go to ABC party only? There can be the case that I am casting vote to ABC party, but actually the vote is going to XYZ party at the back end. I don't know anything. So for that thing, the Election Commission of India has introduced changes in EVM. What happened in 2013? Fine. From 2013, government has explored the Voter Verifiable Paper Trail Audit, VVPAT. Voter Verifiable Paper Trail Audit, VVPAT. And this VVPAT has been universalized since 2017. Now, what is this VVPAT? Basically, guys, suppose this is your EVM, this is your EVM, okay, and on this particular EVM there are the name of the different political parties. Okay, you cast your vote. Okay, then there will be a kind of a printer kind of a machine that will be attached with the EVM. Now this printer kind of a machine will have a screen. Okay, so as you cast a vote, a paper receipt will be generated. On that, now that paper receipt will be there for 7 seconds. In those 7 seconds, you can see that, okay, I voted for this party, this candidate. You can verify that particular thing, and then that paper trail will drop in that VVPAT box only. You will not get it physically. It will drop in that VVPAT box. If somebody disputes election results, then what can happen? These paper trails that has been generated, they can be matched, they can be counted independently, and if such a dispute is there, that dispute can be settled. So this VVPAT system came. Okay, now this VVPAT system has came, guys, but point is that over and over again, the disputes have been raised that whether still this EVM are tamper proof, can they be hacked, okay, or not. Now basically in this particular direction, guys, up till now it has also been provided that by many opposition parties, many of the activists, that EVM design, what has been provided, number one, it has been provided that EVM design, prototype, software that they are using, hardware that they are using, it is not publicly available for technical and independent review. Okay, so guys, you might be seeing that there are many YouTube channels, they review mobile phone, they review gadget, they buy a mobile phone and then they review it. So for reviewing whether the EVM can be tempered or not, fine, they are not available. Fine. So point is that if it is so tamper proof, fine, if it cannot be compromised, why they are not available for open independent review? So it raises certain kind of an eyebrow, but this thing has been there. Now guys, understand this particular thing. Election Commission of India says this thing that EVM cannot be hacked. Why? Because number one, they are not connected with internet. Fine. Secondly, guys, external device cannot be inserted in that. Moreover, the chip that is being used, it is one-time programmable chip. But the point is that one-time programmable chip we are making from USA. Okay, and what is the guarantee that the chip that has been programmed, okay, that has its own integrity? Now many doubts are there, but I will suggest you that you should not go too much in the details of that particular dimension, because that has more become a political discussion rather than an academic thing for our UPSC examination. It is academic for UPSC examination, you don't need to go too much in that detail. Now the present issue, what has been there. So guys, present issue is something like this, that fine, what about migrant voters? What about migrant voters? Okay, we know this particular thing that, guys, as per first of all Niti Aayog, it has been provided that 41% of people will be living in urban India, and majority of the people will be outsiders, majority of the people will be migrant. Now, it has been provided by Election Commission of India itself that when we talk about 2019 general elections, voter turnout was around 67%, which is very much good. But at the same time, there were 30 crore electors who did not exercise their vote. And out of these 30 crore people, many people were not able to give vote. Why? Because they were living in some other part of the country. They were migrant there. And it was not possible for them to go back and to cast their vote. Okay, so how to give them right to vote? This has been a kind of a matter which is there since so many of the years. Now, in this particular capacity, guys, what has happened? Election Commission of India has recently introduced, okay. Now, when we talk about migration, fine, migration is a very big reason people are not able to vote. 85% of internal migration is within the states. People are many number of times not able to come to the vote. So therefore, what has happened? Election Commission of India, it had come with the remote EVMs. It has come with remote EVM. Now, what is remote EVM? Just a minute. Remote EVM. Now, what is this remote EVM? So, suppose a person is living in Delhi. And he belongs to Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Now, if he is living in Delhi, and let's say the elections are going in Madhya Pradesh, he cannot vote. So, what can be done in Delhi? There will be the voting machines, remote EVMs that will be deployed, and this person can vote in Delhi, and that vote will automatically be registered in his constituencies in Madhya Pradesh. These remote EVM machines at the one time can cater to 72 constituencies. Okay, so you don't need to travel to your state. You can cast the vote at the place where you are living, there will be these remote EVMs that will be deployed, and these remote EVMs will give right to vote to such migrant voters who were not able to vote earlier. Okay, this is something that has happened. Now, you guys understand this particular thing, that for this particular remote EVM, what has happened recently, the prototype of this voting was presented to the opposition parties, but the opposition parties did not accepted it. They have raised concerns that there will be a lot of challenges that will come. Okay, so prototype was not successful. Now, as we talk about the remote EVMs, it has been provided that this particular machine, remote EVM, will have an electronic dynamic ballot display. Okay, now you see this thing, 72 constituency, 72 constituency. In one constituency, there will be 20-30 candidates that are contesting. Okay, so 72 constituencies, and in one constituency 20-30 people contesting. It is not possible that we can put a paper list, fine, as it is there into the normal EVM. So this remote EVMs will have a dynamic display, digital display, on which constituency wise people can see their candidates and can vote for these candidates. So this remote EVM got demonstrated recently. Now, Election Commission of India is convinced that if this particular initiative is implemented, it can bring a social transformation for migrant and will help with connecting these migrant with their roots. Many of the migrant people, see, they don't want to enroll themselves as voter at the new place where they got migrated. Why? Because many number of times migration is seasonal. Second, there are the emotional bonds with the place from which they belong, so they don't want to get enrolled. Okay, many number of times they don't have documentation paper also. Frequently, sometimes they are changing their residency, so they don't want to enroll. It's new place, and in old place, the native place, they are not able to cast their vote. So here what has happened, this particular thing can be done. But obviously there are certain challenges in this remote EVM that will come. Number one, how you define domestic migrants, who are migrants, what will be the grounds on which the migrant will be defined, how the implementation of model code of conduct will take. Now, when the elections are being announced, the model code of conduct is announced. Model code of conduct, when new schemes cannot be started, voters cannot be influenced. Now, the point is that elections are going in MP, but the people of MP are living in entire country. So how, where they are living, their model code of conduct will be ensured. Fine. Then the point is that how the identification of voters will be carried. Fine. The process and method of remote voting, counting of votes, how all these particular things will be carried. Moreover, to implement this remote EVM, we need to bring certain changes. For example, changes are to be brought in Representation of People Act 1950, Representation of People Act 1951, Conduct of Election Rules 1961, Registration of Elector Rules 1960. Here we need to bring changes. This is the proposal by Election Commission of India. Now, why this particular article has come in the news now, guys? Why this particular article has come in the news, guys? Because recently what has happened, the proof of concept was presented to the opposition parties, but the opposition parties are not happy with it. They say that still there are many challenges which are to be solved, and right now, fine, there are many problems that are going to come. Okay, problems. For example, number one problem is there, guys. Let's see. When the elections are carried, every party send their volunteers at election booths so that they ensure that no cheating is going on. Now, when you will implement remote EVM, okay, now the small parties will have disadvantage. They don't have that big cadre base. Okay, so if they don't have that big cadre base, how they will go to all the polling booths in the country in order to ensure that no cheating is going on there? Fine, this is some very big issue that's there. Moreover, how to campaign in other parts of the country. Now you see this thing, there are certain national parties, for example BJP, Congress, they have presence in almost all the states. So if election is going on in MP and some people of MP are living in Delhi, they can reach to them. Okay, they can tell them their manifesto, they can campaign, all such kind of things, but small parties cannot do that. So it will be keeping small parties at a disadvantage. Moreover, another issue is this, can it not be tempered? Can it not be hijacked? Cannot not be hacked? Technical challenges are also there. So for that particular thing, opposition parties are still skeptical. Okay, so this is, guys, all about it, and all remote EVM notes I have provided here, which is very much important for your examination. Now, moving on, guys. Okay, a case for reassigning GST to states. A case for reassigning GST to states. Okay, now this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 3, economy. Now, basically, guys, the article has given a kind of a very revolutionary kind of suggestion, okay, which I am very, very skeptical that it will be accepted. Okay, it is not going to get accepted anyhow, but okay, it is a viewpoint. You should see this particular viewpoint. Now, okay. So basically, guys, now as we talk about India, okay, India is a federal nation, though the word federalism is not mentioned in the part 1 union and the territories part of the constitution, but still we are federal, where states have been given their own powers. For example, schedule 7, which contains a union, state and concurrent list. Fine. So in the state list, states have their own power. We follow a kind of a federalism. Now, as we talk about federalism, what about fiscal federalism? On the issue of taxation also, both the center as well as state needs to have power. Now, this condition is important, and this was true to a large extent before the GST came, goods and services tax came. Now, when we talk about the goods and services tax, GST, okay, when we talk about GST, goods and services tax, it is a kind of an indirect tax. It is a kind of an indirect tax which is imposed on goods and services. Now, point is that before GST came, many of the matters of indirect taxation were in the hands of the state government. If they wanted more revenue, they could have increased those particular taxes. Okay, a lot of matters of sales tax, VAT were under the control of the state government. But with the coming of GST, all these particular taxes got subsumed in GST, and the power to increase the taxes, decrease the taxes, now it is not in the hands of the state government. It has gone in the hand of union government. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. What has happened today? Union government. First of all, when we talk about, guys, direct taxes, for example, indirect tax. Oh, sorry, direct taxes. For example, income tax. Income tax. It is there in the hand of the union government. Okay, but now indirect tax is also GST. They came under GST, and in GST there is the central government which have a veto under GST council. So indirect taxes, GST also came under control of central government, union government. So union government today have more tax powers than the states, and this particular things, fine, what has happened at the same time, states have more responsibilities of expenditure. Tax collection power is in hand of state, sorry, in hand of union. Tax collection power is in the hand of union, but more expenditures are done to by the, that are to be done by the state. It has created a vertical fiscal imbalance between union and state. Now, when we talk about GST, understand this particular thing, guys, that the GST is concurrently levied by both state and union. Okay, so there is CGST, central GST, and SGST, state GST. So whenever if you have bought any item, fine, half go to SGST, half go to CGST. However, if there is a kind of an interstate trade, then there will be IGST that will be imposed. Okay, and that IGST, 50% of that IGST goes to the final destination state. Now, point is that anyhow 50% of GST is always going to union. Now, point is that state governments don't have much power to change GST tax rates. Okay, individual states don't have power to change the taxes unilaterally. Why? Because the veto power is in the hands of the union government. Now, as we talk about the latest figures, see this particular thing, between 2015-16 to 2021, only 47% of the states out of the total states were able to finance their own revenues. Fine. Why only 47% of the states were able to finance their own revenues? Because simply they don't have money. Why they don't have money? Because the taxation powers are in the hands of the union government. Moreover, there are many other developments also that have happened in past 4-5 years. Number one, divisible taxes of the union government expanded, thus enlarging the revenue base to be shared with the states. Now guys, this line is having a lot of technical jargons, what it means in simple words. I'll explain you this thing. See, Article 280. under Article 280, Finance Commission is to be constituted. Who constitute Finance Commission? President of India. And this Finance Commission will suggest the formula that the funding that the union government has got, the resources, revenues that the union government has got, how much will be distributed between the states. Now guys, when we talk about till 13th Finance Commission, 42% of the revenue, 42% of the revenue was to be given to the states. But till 13th Finance Commission, okay, 32% of the revenue was to be given to the states. But what happened? 14th Finance Commission increased it to 42%. Increased it to 42%. So out of the total revenue of the union government, 42% will be given to the states. 42% will be given to the states. So what has happened, as this increased from 32% to 42%, we see this particular thing, that revenue base which will be shared with the states, it got increased. This is a positive. This is a positive thing. The next thing that comes in this particular direction is, guys, that secondly what happened? Between this period, fiscal responsibility legislation was also implemented. Now, what is this fiscal responsibility legislation? Guys, understand this particular thing, that Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act. Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act, FRBM Act. Now, FRBM Act came earlier, but FRBM Act was not followed because of the recession, because of the financial crisis of 2008-9 that came, and then laterwards also there were the challenges. Now, FRBM imposes obligation on the states that they need to keep their fiscal deficit, okay, ideally in the range of, okay, their deficit should be ideally in the range of 2.5%. Revenue deficit, fiscal deficit should be in the range of 2.5 to 3%. Revenue deficit should go to 0. Okay, this is the FRBM Act's mandate. Now, obviously, guys, this will be achieved successfully. Now, the point is that what has happened, if state governments need to reduce their fiscal deficit, it means they cannot spend more. They cannot spend more. Whatever they are getting revenues, within that revenues only, they need to ensure that they are doing the expenditure. But point is that their revenues are not sufficient enough. And because their revenues are not sufficient enough, they have to borrow. But now they cannot borrow. So point is that what happened, this fiscal responsibility legislation that got implemented, it again constrained the it was implemented, sorry, to constrain the fiscal deficit of the states. Okay, now states directly borrow from the market, okay, but they can only borrow till the limits that have been imposed. They can only borrow till the limits that have been imposed. So point is that the fiscal capacity to raise money, it will be going down. Then Union Planning Commission got dissolved. Planning Commission got dissolved and Niti Aayog came. Now guys, when Planning Commission was there were the 5-year plans that were created. And as per the 5-year plans, money was to be given to the state. But now if Planning Commission is not there, those grants will also not come. Then GST got introduced in 2017. Okay, and with the coming of GST, indirect taxes, the power that state governments have with them on indirect taxes, these powers got subsumed in GST. And today, if any GST change has to be brought in GST, that will come by GST Council. And in GST Council, center has veto power. So, point is that the state government's fiscal powers had got reduced a lot. Now, the author is suggesting this particular thing, that to rectify this vertical fiscal imbalance that have happened, what has happened? The union government, now, understand this thing. Now what we need to do, we need to reassign the taxation powers. Today, union government has exclusive power to levy excise duty on petroleum products. And at the same time, state have the power to levy excise duty and sales tax on liquor. This is the present situation. State government can levy excise duty, tax, sales tax on liquor, and union government can do it for the petroleum products. Now, the author is proposing this particular thing, that the CGST and the excise duty on petroleum products should be assigned to the states. Now, we saw this thing that the GST is divided in two parts, SGST and CGST. So CGST that was with there at the center, it should go to the state, and the excise duty on petroleum that was there at the center, that should also go to the state. By this particular thing, they are saying that the state governments will get more opportunities. Okay, their financial condition will improve. Okay, moreover, it has also been provided that right now under GST many items are not included. For example, petroleum products are not included into the present GST. So these petroleum products should be included in GST. Okay, and then the GST, CGST, SGST both should go to state governments. Is it clear or not? Now, this has been provided. Fine, GST shall continue as a tax determined by GST Council, but powers are needed to be given to the states. This is some suggestion that has been given, and this will be helping to reduce that vertical imbalance that has been there. Vertical imbalance that has been there. Okay. Okay, guys. So this is the entire issue. Fine. Now, uh, moving to the next article. Okay, the illogical rejection of the idea of South Asia. Illogical rejection of the idea of the South Asia. Now, this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, international relations, relations of India with the neighborhood. Relations of India with the neighborhood. Now, guys, this particular article is giving a suggestion. Okay, guys, sir, should we write the daily answers? Okay, because prelims are coming. Okay. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that fine, you may stop daily answer writing if you want, because the prelims is coming now. If you are, if you have apprehensions for the prelims examination, I will suggest you that you may stop and you can focus on prelims. Now, there is one more question. Why ethics papers still exist when after clearing officers hardly walk on ethical lines? So student has raised this question. The name is student. So dear, see, we still find that people commit murder, though IPC is existing, CRPC is existing, but people still commit murder. Though traffic rules and regulations are there, but still people jump red light. But then can we abolish the CRPC, IPC, traffic rules, because people are anyhow not following them? Okay, so because some people are not doing that, okay, people get educated, people take the degrees, but still they don't acquire that wisdom which is expected out of them. Can we say that, okay, abolish the schools, colleges? Okay, so that is something. Fine, moving. Okay, so the illogical rejection of the idea of South Asia. So basically, guys, this article is giving, starting from the premise that what has happened recently, a study has been conducted. Recently, a study has been conducted, and this particular study has provided this particular thing, that the pollution doesn't always stays localized. Pollution doesn't always stays localized. Okay, if pollution is being emitted in Delhi, that will be going to Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, all the places. So recently, World Bank study on air pollution provides that ill effects of pollution will spread fine to all the regions, even the pristine tourist destination Himalayas region also it will be going. It has been provided that today 2 million people die prematurely in South Asia because of the PM concentrations increases. Okay. Now it has been provided that the air pollution is not restricted to geopolitical boundaries. It's not the case that the Pakistan's pollution will not come in India and India's pollution will not go in Pakistan. It's not restricted to geopolitical boundaries. Recently, the report that came, it provides that there are 4 airsheds. What is airshed? Fine. What is airshed? Airshed includes the entire area over which the pollutants will disperse due to meteorological and geographical factors. So if pollution is being emitted in Delhi, that will spread to Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. Some fragments will even go to the regions of Pakistan. So airsheds, this is one entire system, one entire pocket of environment in which all the pollutants will spread. So it has been said that India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bangladesh, they share common airsheds. They share common airsheds. Okay. So there are 6 airsheds. There are 6 airsheds in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. They all share. Pollution of Bangladesh will come in the pollution of Bangladesh will come in India. India's pollution will go to Pakistan and Bangladesh. Pakistan's pollution will come to India. So this is something that is going on. Now, point is that we need to, if we need to reduce the pollution, if we need to talk on these particular things, obviously we need to have cooperation between all the countries who are sharing this particular common airshed. At the same time, there are other factors also which impact all the countries in equal capacity. For example, climate crisis. Recently, we have seen that there was a flooding in Pakistan. Recently, there was a flooding in Pakistan. Ukraine war then came. It impacted, it bring inflation, and all the regions got impacted. The point is that, guys, today the neighbors, they face common challenges on climate, on air pollution, on changing weather. They share the common concerns, but the point is that we are not collaborating with each other. For example, SAARC summit is not being held for so many of the years. Why? Because India and Pakistan are having dispute. The point is that we have common challenges. Okay, energy cost is becoming a big challenge. Grain, fertilizers, they are a big challenge. Economic recession is being shared by all the countries in the region are sharing the challenge of COVID-19, terrorism, etc. Taliban, as it has taken over the Afghanistan, all will face the challenges. So what the article is talking about, it's saying that from pollution, from pollution to environment, to terrorism, to inflation, to natural disasters, we share a common problem. Why we are not collaborating them? Why we are not cooperating? Why we are not talking with each other? Fine, SAARC summits have not happened. Both Pakistan and India are not talking with each other. Pakistan refused to join, to become the part of South Asian energy grid. Fine, South Asian energy grid, under which already Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, fine, they have joined. Now, India at the same time is always talking about Vasudeva Kutumbakam, fine, neighborhood first policy, but at the same time we are not negotiating with Pakistan. Okay, so recently what happened, we have seen this particular article also yesterday, that recently Global South Summit, Voice of Global South Summit was held, where India became the voice of the Global South. And when we talk about the Global South, why then we are not negotiating with Pakistan? Moreover, it says that bilateral talks are not happening between India and Pakistan, but anyhow, on other fronts, we are talking with Pakistan. For example, in United Nations, okay, fine, we are, India and Pakistan both talk about terrorism at United Nations. In Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we are talking about terrorism and common concerns. But then why bilaterally we are not talking? So what happened in 2022? New Delhi and Islamabad, they exchanged the teams as the part of the SCO's RATS, that is Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure. So RATS are under SCO, and we exchange information here. Okay. So the point is that, guys, why we are not discussing matters one to one. The article is talking of this particular thing, that economically it also makes a sense that we need to negotiate, we need to talk with each other. Today we see this particular thing, that regional trade now makes up more than half of the global trading. So regional trading blocks, for example, United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, Southern Common Market, Mercosur, okay, European Union, Eurasian Economic Union, Cooperation Council for Arab States, all these are the regional agreements, regional trade agreements. Therefore, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh can also sign a regional trade agreement, but we have so many of the disputes. Because of that, this negotiation, this particular progress is also not coming up. So point is that we need to move beyond these shallow things, and we need to look as how we can collaborate and how we can cooperate on broader themes. Okay, so this is all about this particular article. Now moving to next article. Okay. So new free food grain scheme as an illusion, double speak. Okay, now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3. This article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, PDS, food subsidies, issues of the food security. Okay, GS3, food security. Now, okay. So first of all, guys, I'll give you some of a background as what has happened. And if you're following newspaper analysis regularly, you might already be knowing it. Now, what has happened recently, guys? Recently, the government merged two of the schemes, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, with the National Food Security Act. Now, National Food Security Act is an old scheme going since 2013, and under National Food Security Act, people who belonged, now, basically, the aim of National Food Security Act is that 66% people at entire country level, 50% people in urban India, 75% people in rural India. So 50% urban, 75% rural, and on the entire country level, 66% people will be covered. They will be provided subsidized food grains. 3 rupees kg rice, 2 rupees kg wheat, and 1 rupee kg coarse grains will be provided to these people. That was going on. When COVID-19 came, government came with the new scheme, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. And under this particular scheme, it has been provided that whatever you are getting under an FSA, apart from that, 5 kg extra food grains will be given under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. So under National Food Security Act, people get 5 kg food grain per individual. They get 5 kg food grain per individual. So apart from that 5 kg extra under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana was given. So what was happening? People were receiving, fine. Now the point is that, guys, if there is a family of 5, it means they will receive 25 kg food per person, 5 kg. 5 persons family, 25 kg. But because of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, apart from 25 kg that they will get under an FSA, they will get 25 kg more. Okay. So point is that what was happening? People were earlier getting 50 kg of rice at just 75 rupees. At just 75 rupees when both the schemes, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan and NFSA, was going on. Recently, what government has done? Government has recently decided this particular thing. Recently, government had said this particular thing, that we are merging both of these schemes, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana and National Food Security Act. We are merging both of these schemes, and will not even take 3 rupees, 2 rupees, 1 rupees kg which you are giving. Entirely free of cost food will be given. So point is that earlier people were getting 50 kg food at 75 rupees. Now they will get only 25 kg at free. Okay. The point is that it is not making much of a sense. It is not making much of a sense. Okay. Now this particular step that government has taken, it is not completely wrong. It also makes some sense. This particular Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, it was a kind of an extraordinary scheme that particularly came for the times of the pandemic. We cannot extend it indefinitely. Sometime it has to come to an end. This particular scheme has been extended for 28 months continuously. We cannot continuously extend it. Moreover, if we see, food procurement has also been less. 2022 Kharif harvest was less. Food procurement was less. Government even don't have that much food also to give. Our buffer stocks are going down. So scheme has to be discontinued. Fine. That is something. Okay. That is something. But here now the article is saying that what is happening? Prime Minister all the time criticizes the Revdi culture. Prime Minister criticizes the Revdi culture, giving of the freebies. But now Prime Minister himself has given the completely free of cost food grains. That is something. So this is a political criticism. No need to go too much in detail. Second, it has been said that already National Food Security Act has a certain design flaws. National Food Security Act has certain design limitations. How? See, I told you that under National Food Security Act, 66% people of India will get subsidized food grains. Okay. I hope that you are understanding. 75% people in rural, 50% people in urban. So pan India, 66% people. Now this number, how many people will 66%? 80 crore people today are getting benefit. 80 crore people today are getting benefit. Now 80 crore people's beneficiary list is designed on the basis of 2011 census. But today 2011 census is already we can see this thing 12 years old. Okay, around 12 years old. The point that's coming here, guys, the point that is coming here is, guys, is that we need to revise even this particular beneficiary list, because even here the people who became poor after 2011, their list is not there. So we need to bring that. Okay. So now the point is that government needs to bring reforms in this particular direction. Okay. Now coming to the next article. 400 tribal youth from 3 LWE, left-wing extremism areas, LWE, left-wing extremist area. Left-wing extremist areas are the areas where Naxalism is very much prominent. Okay, guys, what is left-wing extremism? Left-wing extremism. Now these are the people who suggest complete change of the present structure. According to them, present government has become corrupt beyond redemption. So left-wing extremists, they want to they want to dispose the elected government, and they want to establish a new system. These are the left-wing extremist people. Okay, now these people have carried violent struggles since 1960s. Okay, since 1960s. Now Maoist problem, Naxalist problem is a very big problem. Now what happened, many number of times these Maoists, these Naxalists, they recruit the local people. And these local people also get recruited many number of times because of poverty, because of hunger, all such kind of things. Many number of times they don't have awareness also. So what government has started? Government has provided that tribal youth will be joined in CRPF. Okay, they will be joined in Central Reserve Police Force, so that they don't become prone to recruit by these Naxalists. Okay, now in this particular capacity, what government has done? Government So what has happened? Government recently, the CRPF recently has completed the process of recruitment 400 tribal from Sukma, Bijapur, Dantewada, which are in Chhattisgarh and which are very prone to Naxalist activity. They have been enrobed. Now, in 2016 also, CRPF raised Bastaria Battalion, which composed 744 scheduled tribe people. So by this, they are also getting livelihood, they are getting employment, and they'll not fall to these Naxal groups. So this is a good case study which can be used. Okay, good case study that can be used. Now, in the landmark shift, China's population declines in 2022. So guys, first of all, as per United Nations World Population Prospect Report, India will become the most populous country by 2023. Okay, and now we see that China's population is going down, but India's population is still rising. Okay, so this is something. Now, China's population was basically the China's population has dropped 10% from 2021 levels. Now, guys, understand this thing, that you don't need to go too much in that level, how much population increased, how much percentage decline was there, and all such kind of a thing. Just understand this particular thing, guys, that now India is going to pass China. China has suffered many of the problems because of the flawed policy planning of China. Earlier, China came with the one-child policy. Then the China relaxed that one-child policy. In 1990s, they came with one-child policy. Then it got relaxed to two-child policy in 2015. And now 2021, China is asking their people that, okay, you go for three-child. But people, now their reproductive preferences, now their family planning preferences have completely changed. People don't want to raise population. So cheap labor, which was once an advantage for China, it will not be an advantage for China, because now population will go down, people will become more old. So therefore, India is the next country where we have the cheap labor, and this is now the fit time that we can rope this particular advantage. Okay. Then guys, just as a reference point, you can use it in your answers. News marked falls by PIB to be taken down, draft rule. So what has happened? Recently, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has proposed a new rule. They have proposed a new rule where social media platforms have to take down the content that has been fact-checked by the PIB as false. So you have news on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, if there is a news, and if that news has been called as false by PIB, then those social media intermediaries have to take down that particular news. This particular proposal has been given. You might already be knowing, I have discussed with you many number of times, IT rules. Okay, Information Technology Intermediary Guideline and Digital Media Ethics Rules 2021, IT Rules 2021. So under IT Rules 2021, social media intermediaries, they can be controlled, regulated by government. So now they have to remove the content. Okay, beyond this, you are not required to go. That's it. Okay. And guys, now taking the mains practice question for today. Okay, so today's mains practice question, it reads, curbing air pollution requires not only tackling its specific sources, but also close coordination across local and national jurisdiction boundaries. Discuss. Okay, so this will be, guys, a question for GS paper number 3. So guys, you can attempt this question and you can upload your answers on our peer reviewed Telegram channel. Okay, so you can visit our main Telegram channel, Thinking Pilot by Sahil. There on the pinned comment, you will find the link of the other channel where you can upload your answers. So that is all, guys, about it. And now we come to an end. Now we'll meet tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves, guys.